Just 2 matches remain in Premier League poker, and it couldn't be closer. Just 1 player has secured a seat at the final table, and 1 player has been confined to the relegation zone. The rest of the places are up for grabs. This will be a battle to the very end. Coming up, 6 of our stars will be making their final stand for Premier League points.
This is what it all boils down to. It's the most important heat so far.
Don't do it.
If I finish first place, I go to the top 4. If I finish last place, I'm in the bottom 4. So it's just like one of those days, everybody's so closely bunched that today's just a massive day.
Poker is the greatest game in the world, man.
I'm going to be a lot more aggressive. It's time to really open up. I've got the position to really launch from.
Mate, let's get a ruling. What's going on here, mate? You're losing complete control of the tournament.
If he's asking for the clock after 1 minute, then I want him to be warned.
I have to win, and it's as simple as that.
Whoa.
If I get a bunch of cards at the start of the heat and build up a decent amount of chips, then I can play and try to get first or second so I can get in the top 4. And if not, I just need to make sure I get at least 5th because I can't afford getting a bagel.
I had a nickname for you. You know what it was?
What was it?
Duracell. You keep raising and raising and raising and raising. Wow, if I could win this and just go flying through to the finals.
Woo-hoo-hoo! 10 matches have been played, and how close is it? Only JC Tran guaranteed to make the final table. Helppi and Obrestad in action tonight. It's not just about where they finish, it's who they finish ahead of. They'll need points to make that final table guaranteed. In the playoff zone, Dwan, G, and Hellmuth in action. With the field pack this tight, tonight's heat will prove decisive. Hellmuth needs to finish in front of the other 2 to feel safe. And in the relegation zone for Andy Black, pretty much only a first will do. He'll be hoping and gasping mathematically if he doesn't win tonight.
Big day today, Tony.
Big day for you.
Big day for you, too. I know this. If I outlast you, I'm in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
That much I know. So
You got to play for survival, baby.
I'm playing poker. I don't care.
You're going to be in a shell.
Every time I played for survival, I baggled. I'm just going to play.
It's going to blind off. You might as well not look.
You're going to blind off. Today might not be the best day to mess with me because I'm ready to play.
Anything could happen here. We'll find out quickly what plans they have. But what do they plan, Vicky?
I think people's intentions have got to be to win it, Jesse. I mean, nobody at this table has their fate decided. They must decide it themselves. They've got to go for the win.
I think Phil Hellmuth is going to have a tough seat here tonight with Dwan and Obrestad on his left. You know, he's only got 19 points. He's a guy, Vicky, where if he gets a bagel or 2 points, it's actually very likely he is not going to make the top 8. Helppi, first to speak.
I have to make it to top 2 to make top 4 anyway.
This is a guy who's actually probably got spreadsheets that he spent last night creating with all the different scenarios. I mean, did you hear? He knows if one person goes out 6th, then he has to get 4th, and if they're in the top 3, then he has to get 2nd. I mean, he knows.
Now, what does Phil Hellmuth know in this situation? What about his famous reading skills? Does he know Juha's actually got something? Maybe he does.
Go on, then.
It's a good pass.
He has been looking into people's souls the last couple matches, Vicky.
Cool.
That's what he says.
Now, this is probably the worst result for Juha, to be called by the very aggressive and dangerous Tom Dwan with position. Yeah. Even though Dwan's got the worst of it, he's in good shape.
I mean, we can see Tom can, but Juha has to pretty much put him on a range of any 2 right now, right?
Very low.
Well, now this is a very good flop for Juha.
I mean, is it possible that Dwan could go broke here?
I don't think he can go broke, but I think he's putting more chips in, without a doubt. You know, he hasn't called with the ace-10 to pass on this flop. It's a little too early to go broke with the hand. But he's definitely not passing.
Cool.
We saw him, Vicky, make a great laydown in his last match with 3 10s against Andy Black. So he's capable of getting away from hands. I wonder, this might just slow things up?
Well, what I was going to say was that Tom Dwan can include a lot of outs for himself as well as the 10. You know, diamonds and straightening cards Dwan can use to try and bully Juha off the hand. And this is a card that Juha doesn't want to see.
Check.
It's a really tricky spot for Tommy. He has gone for the check, which makes it more likely that they're going to get to the end cheaply, huh?
Well, I wonder if it's a factor that Tom Dwan is on the 22 points. He doesn't want to go out first. I think in an earlier match he might have made a move on that turn. But if he gets the bagel tonight, it could absolutely sink his chances. He could still be relegated.
Yeah, you're right. For Juha, the bagel probably means a playoff spot, all for Tom Dwan.
Can
Bagel.
Juha find the value bet? That's the question. I can tell you he'd make it against me. He's maybe worried that Dwan would put him all in.
They both want to chop this pot, and now Dwan may do what Peter Eastgate has done in the past, this Premier League, which is...
I think I gotta check with the way the
yeah, you don't want to
is.
make a value bet where that ends up losing you money, does you?
Wow.
No, I mean, it is a sign, though, of Juha's respect or possibly even fear for Dwan's game that he doesn't make the value bet on the end. After Dwan checks the turn, Juha should really bet the river, but he's nervous of what he'll be facing if he does.
Read that at my PB, it was just, I feel like I'm supposed to check there with the point set up.
Meanwhile, look at the steely focus of Andy Black. He hasn't said a word. Really concentrating today. Really knows you've got to pull something out the bag.
Like that, though.
He was really
cute, right?
disappointed his last match, Vicky. Got so close to the win.
Jeez, he got it all in with the kings against fives.
He did.
You know, and lost that. I mean, I know how he feels. I got it all in heads up for kings against a6. You know, you'd almost rather have the worst hand, and at least you think it was in the hands of some other kind of fate.
It doesn't make any sense to do it.
Those kings could be kind of tricky. They have been. They have been in this Premier League.
You wouldn't have believed what I folded last time.
Raise, just
He is the defending champion, Andy Black. But if he makes the final table, he'll be the first defending champion to return to the
He
final
needs
table.
points also to make it even to make it top
Very close to
Andy Black actually got the lowest points of anybody at this table tonight. He's the one who most needs to pick up something here.
All of you guys need points to even make it to top 8.
Nearly holding hands.
Standard.
Oh yeah, they could have held hands. I mean, there might have been like, you know, a chain link fence in between, but they definitely could.
Interesting necklace he's got.
Skulls.
It is skulls. It's like Edvard Munch, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of a scary thing to sit next to, you know. Just what did you think of the skulls of all the midgets that Andy's beaten in poker over the years? Threaded them round his neck.
Poker voodoo. What is that science of the shrunken heads? What's that?
I can't remember what it's called.
You know,
Not trepanning. That's drilling the heads and letting out the evil spirits, which I'd like to do to some of the people in this lineup. Don't worry about that.
Shrink them in cider, you know. And Andy's, this is his third pot in a row he's raised, I think. Sort of like trying to seize on the fact that guys are playing tight, maybe?
Well, Andy's been playing a bit of a calling game in some earlier matches, and generally it's worked out badly for him. He's called with the 2 4s a couple of times. It just hasn't quite paid off, so he's come in more aggressively. And remember, he must go for the win. He's only got 16 points. He's got to play hard.
Now, that's the kind of flop where Tony G just can't fold, right? I mean, there's one overcard.
Yeah, it's a good flop for Tony G. Short of flopping a set, you know. What he doesn't want to see is like 10 Jack King. But this is good for him.
And the alarm bells should be ringing off a little bit in Black's mind here, or... Ooh.
Well, the alarm bells just turned into the merry peal of the wedding chapel. His aces are married to the flop now.
This is really tough for Tony. I mean, on the one hand, the ace obviously looks like a great card. But Andy knows it looks like a great card.
It's a good pass. I mean, Tony's got to figure that Andy either had a pair or ace something, and how can he be winning on the turn? It's good play. Maybe if he raises on the flop, Tony, he could take it that way. Perhaps he should have raised.
That's what he's thinking.
Now we got some gambling chips.
The winners can laugh.
God, can you imagine what it would be like if Andy Black pulled out a win here tonight?
It would be incredible. Well, they can do it. Never underestimate these players. You know, Devilfish, in the next match, is in exactly the position he was in last year, that he's in terrible shape. He's going to go for the win for pride.
Yeah.
He did it last time. He could do it this time.
He ended up actually winning to get in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, he actually did that. You know, Andy Black, the defending champion, not had a great run. He could absolutely fight his way to a victory here.
And everybody aware now this is the 4th hand on the trot Andy Black has raised. But you see the power of being the loose cannon at the table. Nothing to lose. Phil can only call with the 9s.
Yeah, Phil, I really think, should perhaps have re-raised with this hand, but he may be setting a trap. Yeah.
Check.
Check.
Well, Andy Black believed Phil for a big hand there, and yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Wow.
I have a pretty big pair here, but...
Sevens.
Oh, actually, this is the hand I'm famous for.
Yeah, 2 black nines. Won the World Series of Poker.
2 black nines. Yeah.
If only that was all he was famous for.
I mean, you know, on the one hand, he didn't really want to show his hand. On the other hand, the opportunity for TV time and to make his brand famous.
Yeah, the opportunity to remind people that he won the World Series. I mean, he would never let that slide.
It might be time for Tony to get busy with the pocket fours or the pocket
you have to
fives.
balance good poker with being truly immortal.
He hasn't done that.
Listen, good luck to him. When I've won 11 World Series bracelets, I'll probably turn the conversation around to that as well.
But it worked for Tony last year.
Pass.
Tony was my inspiration.
Pass.
He had a lot of points last year, this Tony G character. A lot of points. How many did you win last year?
Raise to pass.
Now, this is interesting for Dwan. Normally, he's raising and raising from quite early, and he would expect to get severe counteraction here.
Oh, no, Annette. Oh, no, Annette. No, no, Annette!
This is not the moment.
Re-raise to 14.
It's really interesting, Vicky, because this is the play that makes her famous. This is her game.
Well, look at Andy Black. He could try the squeeze. He could squeeze.
Call.
No, he's going to try and flop a set. But what's unfortunate is I bet Annette, as soon as she saw the seat draw, came in with the plan of re-raising Tom Dwan. She's unlucky to find him with a big hand.
He gets no respect. They just don't believe him. He's all in, right?
He's got to move in because of Andy Black's call. I'm not quite sure why Andy's flat called in the middle here.
I'm on.
Yeah, I mean,
all
you know, then Annette moves out of the way. Andy also, I think, has to pass, but a little bit dangerous from Andy, the call.
That's not the only thing a little bit dangerous from Andy. Look at his eyes, Vicky. Is he thinking about a race here?
He can't do it. I mean, Annette, I think, not sure what she's thinking about. That's going in the muck, maybe trying to make it look like a bigger hand than it was. But Andy's going to hate the fact.
Oh,
What?
I knew it!
Oh, no.
I knew it!
And a call.
I knew it! I knew it. I knew it.
You're the best, Jesse. I mean, I never saw Andy calling here.
You could see it in his eyes.
What? I'm speechless. Obviously, if I had the 2 sevens, I'd have thrown it away for the raise and the re-raise, but to then call it all in? It must be because he's going for the win. It must be because he knows he needs 10 points.
He's Irish.
Pretty safe.
Is that it?
I don't know.
I think if Andy Black loses this pot, he's going to be relegated. You know, 16 points is not enough to make the top 8. Unless some very weird things happen.
Tom's telling Andy he thinks he made a pretty good call.
Runner on a straight possibilities for Andy.
Like a 4, a 6, or a 9.
Just a 7.
I mean, you know.
And the 7 probably to knock Tom Dwan out of the Premier League. And now, actually, not
That's
even...
it. That's it.
There's a doornail.
No, he's drawing dead because the 7 now it's no good.
Yes.
Wow.
Pretty good turn card for Dwan on the balance.
I think he's got a bit of scratch left after the hand, Andy, but wow, what a horrible early disaster.
That's 40,000 now between Andy being out of the Premier League and the other players at the table, Vicky, must just be looking over and they're having headaches right now. Dwan is about to torture them.
Gives you more energy.
Annette is sort of saying right now she hates her seat. You know what? She has a horrible seat. She does.
Well, she does now. I mean, she's trapped between Tom Dwan putting all the pressure on as chip leader and Andy Black liable to get involved because his chips are small. He's got to move in.
I mean, Nad was kind of saying a few matches ago that it's great to sit on the left of Tom Dwan, you know, but the thing is you have to be re-raising him a lot. And in this, right now, with the way the points are, Annette's going to have to be committing a lot of her chips to be doing this re-raising, isn't she?
No, and the way the chips are, you know. Dwan can now afford to call a re-raise with a marginal hand because he can't be knocked out by anybody at the moment.
Battle of some young poker stars here. 22 versus 20. And I mean barely 22 and barely 20. I guess they start playing at age 15 these days.
What Dwan will probably do now is try to use his chip advantage to muscle her out. He can't have been calling to try and hit with this hand.
Look at that murderer's row. It's like the 7'9" Phil Hellmuth. You know, the 5'8" Tom Dwan, and the most aggressive player of the three of them, little Annette.
Now, what's Annette going to do here? She's, you know, she probably feels confident she's got the best hand. The problem for Annette here is that Andy Black is so low on chips. You know, she'd feel really daft taking the 0 points now with Andy so vulnerable. Yeah, I can understand the pass, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because even though she should have the best hand, most times she will have the best hand, if she's wrong and she goes out, you know, she's handing Andy the gift of points when he could knock himself out at any moment.
Okay, I got leveled.
It's tricky. You could have a 3 also.
That was it, wasn't it? He could have. He is tricky. I gotta love the psychology going on here. Every hand, they're running through all the hands they've played against each other.
Oh. Pass.
Are you, the way things are going right now, Vicky, are you feeling like it sort of suits you for the next match, or are you just...
No, I want Tom Dwan to go out first. Andy is not dangerous for me. You know, I wanted them to go out in the order of the points they had, and they're doing it in reverse.
I'm trying to gauge your mood. You just seem a little open mouth here.
Now, what's happening here?
Yeah.
Tony G making the call. But you've got to assume he's making the call to try and outflop Dwan. He doesn't decide to re-raise. He hasn't put him on no hands.
He knows Dwan could have anything here, right?
He does know that. I think Dwan will probably check the flop. I think he probably will.
I just wonder what the psychology is here. I mean, is Tony capable of having a big pair here? And, you know, sort of trying to trap Tom with it? Is he capable of...
Oh, he's betting the flop, Dwan. I didn't think he would, because generally speaking, he's
13,000.
He's been checking flops that he misses.
I had a nickname for you. You know what it was?
What was it?
Duracell. You keep raising and raising and raising and raising.
Welcome back. Dwan unshackled in the lead and showing how it's done.
Oh, yeah, I did. For the series, I wanted
Phil Hellmuth desperately wants the respect of Tom Dwan. He looks at Dwan, this young kid who's won millions, who plays a very different type of game to Phil, and he desperately wants the kid to revere him.
Say it, kid. Tell me. I think you're good, but you know that I'm great. Tell me. Tell me.
Hello? This is perfect for Dwan. Perfect. He spent the whole tournament building up this incredibly active reputation, and here, in the last match, when everyone knows that everyone has to go for the win, he's finding big hands, and of course he gets the action.
Yeah. And this is a huge race. A huge race right now.
I've got a funk for Andy to win this hand, you know. I need Tom Dwan off this table with no points.
Andy will feel like he's been a little bit unlucky in races, and I think on balance he probably has. Now he's taken more of them than most.
Get the jacket on, get the whole outfit ready. Good luck.
Look, I mean, this pot size, Vicky. If Black wins this, everything's pretty much back to level devils.
But if he loses this, the defending champion is out.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. And out of the Premier League, not just out of this match.
I don't think I did.
Oh yeah, he's relegated if he loses this hand.
Oh, that looked like an ace.
Oh, it's a good flop for Andy.
Good start. Anyway, I feel it's coming. Good luck, everybody.
You don't want a big queen.
Jack or queen's like a good.
Now he's doing that
Excellent
walk
playing with all of
where
you.
he won't quite go out of the door, but he'll go near it.
Even 10 gives you a little bit of room. Whoa! 7.
That was a bluff.
Ace, king, or 7,
King or
Vicky.
7. He doesn't have many outs, Andy.
How am I doing? Am I gone? Am I on my bike?
King.
Oh!
Man. It
What
was
is
an
it?
ace, Andy.
What?
Gone.
Ace.
No.
Yeah.
Ace of hearts.
It's hard.
Really?
This is hard.
Isn't that amazing?
He was going to tell you it was an ace.
It's actually in being knocked out, he's walked back
This
to
is
the table.
that's actually worse. That he actually has to walk back now
Yeah.
to find out.
Well, he got a lot of exercise out of the coup.
He is the defending champion, Vicky, and he will not be defending.
Because then he doesn't believe it.
Oh, man. And, wow, the bagel for Andy Black. That is going to mean under no circumstances can he make the top 8. How strong is Dwan?
With these chips and with his knowledge that some of the others are trying to survive, he can put a hell of a lot of pressure on.
You know, basically I played ragged a bit, and that's how I played all the Premier League. You know, I've overall played ragged. You know, if I was getting a report card, I got about an F. Overall, that's just how it is.
And what's just happened here, Vicky, Andy Black obviously got knocked out. Everyone had to rush over to look at their point sheets, to start computing, see what it meant. It hasn't, it's really changed the most things for Nanad Medic, actually, as people have
Yeah, you know what it's changed for Nanad Medic? He now has to knock me out first and win the heat. It's absolutely horrible. It's going to be like having a stalker.
Everyone in that heat is going to think she's sick.
All I can hope is that Nanad gets food poisoning before the match.
You're going to have your own stalker.
But I tell you who this is a good result for as well. It's good for Tony G, because Andy was the person who was below him. Tony remains in front, and Tony actually overtakes Roland.
It might be right most of the time, but it's not in the next too long time.
Check.
Dwan checking the gut shot.
7,000.
Could be a check raise, of course. You know, he can afford to play a gut shot quite aggressively with his chip lead.
Call.
No, he's trying to peel it off cheaply.
I was gonna say, if there's one thing about Dwan, sometimes you think the hand is over and it hasn't yet begun. I mean, what?
Check.
I think Helppi may have to check it now, because if his ace high isn't good, then Dwan can have a hand that's such an easy call or raise. Juha himself has picked up a bit of a middle pin draw.
Check.
Yeah, I think he's got to make the check.
He's playing it sensible, Vicky.
Check.
Dwan's checked this on the river.
Yeah, it's a clever check. A clever check, because it's induced the bet with ace high. Juha knows his hands are good. Yeah, he said the 10. It was a good check.
It was brilliant.
Because you know why he checks is because he knows Juha doesn't have anything. If he thinks Juha's got a bit of a hand, he can bet and try and induce the raise or the value call. He knows Juha has nothing. His best chance of getting chips is to check to induce the bluff, and it means his reading skills are sharp.
He is sharp. He does the right thing so often, doesn't he?
He really does.
Even Phil's going to be impressed now. Come on, Phil, say it. Tell you how you played the hand bad, Phil. Go ahead.
Unfortunately, if he tried to say that, he might choke mid-sentence.
Raise call, I'm saying. I don't know if I showed it. It seems like he's not ever folding.
Yeah, it seems like he's
I mean, of course, you know, Jesse, we're saying this from a position of general respect and amusement at Dwan's game. If we didn't think he was any good, we'd say, what the hell was he doing? Check calling, trying to hit a 10, and then he got lucky. You know, we're assuming that he's a good player, so we like what he's done. I like the check on the river, and that's certainly
That's a
true.
very good point. I think that would
I
probably
prefer
be
to
the
check
right
raise on the
move.
flop, but I love the check on the river.
Doesn't seem like he's folding often.
I'm guilty as charged, results oriented. If he did something that got money, I'll say he must have known.
He must have played that well.
I'm guilty as charged.
14,000 total.
I can't figure out what he's doing. Just know it works.
This would be a really good spot for me to qualify.
It would be.
Unfortunately, I did not qualify.
I have some.
I think what Tom said there, he's kind of just saying to Phil, you know, I can re-raise you light here if I want, and you can't call.
Well, that's absolutely true.
And he's right.
If he'd re-raised with nothing, Phil couldn't call, but he opted not to.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to shove with ace king there, that's for sure.
Even like 2 10s.
Yeah.
2 10s,
I was surprised it was as low as 7s, but I'm not that surprised.
No, not fold.
They're talking about Andy there.
9,000 more.
Looked like he had anywhere
like
from
986. I'm still fine getting it.
Talking about that hand that Durrr won with the queens against the 7s.
Jacks there,
Yeah, you couldn't have kings or queens really because.
Call.
Yeah, didn't look like
You could have
kings
like ace
or
queen,
queens.
ace jack too. I don't know.
No, I would.
You can put some chips in sometimes.
Yeah, but I think it'd be more likely.
Now, what if Hellmuth decides to try and bully Tony G with this hand? Hellmuth does love an ace.
He's asked him for a countdown. Now, Tony has 20 points and Phil has 19, or excuse me, 21 to... 22 to 21 is what it is. And has Tony just limped here? He has limped with the ace-king.
He just limped. Well, he was hoping, of course, that
I gave you a lot of credit
one
here,
of the aggressive
Tony
players
G.
behind him would raise. Didn't happen.
Probably missed another raise.
Oh, there's the ace. So that's it. Tony G's gone in front.
Phil's got a flush draw and the ace. I mean, there could get a lot of money in this pot. What if Tony G is check raising here?
I think Tony G's got to be... Well, he may just be check calling.
If you call 5, I might not bet another street, Tony.
He might just go all in. He might just
There
go all
you go.
in.
Wowie.
Now, you see, this is interesting. A lot of
How
players
much
in
more
this
is it?
thing would snap call with Phil's hand. Top pair in the flush draw, they want to gamble. Phil hates to play that kind of poker. He hates to call a big bet drawing.
This is just so sick. In a side game, I would have just... A side game, I wouldn't have even asked for a count. It would have been just such a huge, quick insta-call would be so sick. God, I can't believe he raised all in. That's why I bet 5 was to not get raised all in. Wow.
Vicky, Phil he can call and lose and have 39,000 back. The problem is, if he goes out 5th, the Premier League is out of his hands.
He has to call. I mean, he has to call.
God, if you're bluffing, you just would be so dead, it would be scary. So sick. But then again...
Let's get the clock.
You can ask. Can he ask for a clock after 1 minute? Is that the way the rules are here, Marty?
Get the clock for him. Help him out.
If he's asking for the clock after 1 minute, then I want him to be warned. I want him to be warned so that the next time he waits 1 minute,
Marty,
he gets a
can you
penalty.
get the clock, please?
Tony is just trying to put Phil under the pressure.
I don't know if he can do that after 1 minute. I don't know if that's legal. Is that legal, Marty, for him to ask for a clock after 1 minute? Because at the World Series, they don't let you do that. Huh?
It's a beautiful maneuver from Tony. He's called for the clock. Even if Phil
It
now
hasn't been 90
passes...
seconds, so does he get a penalty?
Obviously, he's hoping Phil will call. Even if Phil now passes, Phil will be so rattled and troubled by this, it'll affect the rest of his game.
Wow.
What a move from Tony G.
Tony has waited 5 matches to put Phil under the burner like this.
You guys, you young guns, you like this hand here?
It looks like he's
You like
passing.
that hand? What do you mean pass?
You can't do that. You can't show the hand.
It's a handmade pass. It's a dead hand.
Oh, this is going to be horrible, Jesse.
I can't have
He showed his hand to the players, and I mean,
Phil's
getting
being
an
told
opinion.
that his hand is
I
dead
might
because
have
he
not
showed
made
it.
it.
Let's get a ruling. What's going on here, mate? You're
Yeah, get a
losing
ruling.
complete control of the tournament. How is he allowed to show the hand and play it now?
You show this, if you show you
He showed it.
Not to him.
can I do this?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the situation. If you show your cards to all the players in this tournament, your hand's deemed dead.
All right, let's move on. Next hand.
He did it on purpose anyway.
I know he did it. I mean, he just wants to stuff around and get TV time.
The interesting thing, of course, everyone remembers the final table last year, Vicky, when Tony did turn his cards over too early and was allowed by Mad Marty Wilson to keep them in action. He knows
I
that.
just can't lay that hand down like in any other tournament. Wow, Tony, you made me lay down top pair in a flush draw. I love poker.
The king of the laydowns.
Poker is the greatest game in the world, man. Or I might shove. If you raise 10.
Don't you think, though, that the pressure in this Premier League has never been higher?
It's never been higher.
This is it. This is it.
Raise 9,000 total.
And
Round 2.
there is,
I hope I qualify.
there's every thought here that between Phil, Tony, and Annette right now, I mean, obviously Tom as well, but whoever goes out next, their fate is going to be out of their hands, so they could very well be out of the Premier League.
You know
Not
what-
for sure.
What they all want is for Juha to go out next.
Yeah, let's get
Everybody
Juha
wants
out.
to see Juha to go
Yeah.
because then they have to achieve less
Yes.
to move in front of him. Juha is the danger. But of course, Juha is not the kind of person to blow up and go out very early.
15,000.
Yeah, good bet from Tony.
Want to see one card?
No.
I'd like.
No, I bet he would show the 3 if he was showing one
I
card.
didn't have anything. I just want to see if it'll make you happy, trying to build your confidence up.
Tony's got under Phil's skin, Vicky. He has got under Phil's skin.
Put my money against you.
Tony's feeling much more in the zone than he has in any previous match. He's relaxed, he's smiling, he's taking the mickey, he's winning pots, you know, without much of a hand. It's like Tony's body arrived from Australia a little while ago, but his brain has only just got here.
I raise a lot of pots because it increases my chances of having you drawn almost dead when it goes in.
Of course. I'm always drawing dead when the money goes.
You are surprisingly dead.
You know I love Tony G. You know, I'd be happy to see him do well.
That's why I'm trying not to get it all in too much.
More than anybody in the Premier League, at least in years past. But this year, you raised the level of your game a little bit, and it hurts you. You played better this year.
Well, I'm in front of you still on the table, so I don't know.
You are?
You shouldn't be commenting too much.
Oh, Tony.
As a matter of fact, Tony isn't ahead of Phil on the table. Phil's 1 point in front.
I don't know. I mean,
for me. You probably didn't play half as good as I did, and you're ahead on points. So what? What happens?
And I'm ahead of you now in chips too.
Friends for life.
Are you? I only lost like
Tony's not too good to fold yet.
10,000. No, I only lost like 7,000 with that hand.
I'm not too good to move all in. That's for sure. I know you're too good to call all in, so it's pretty simple. You're too good to call all in. You are, unless you have the pure nuts. If you had the nut flush there, if you had the king high flush, you might have been stressed out.
Vicky, he had ace queen is what he had, Vicky.
I don't know about you, but I'm so glad that Phil folded because now him and Tony get to jaw at each other for at least 1 more hour.
Raise it up.
Raise. 14,000 total.
Phil was pretty much giving Tony credit for something like ace queen and ace king and then folding. So
I think you should call anyway. I think everyone here has to go for the win. I think take the gamble in this spot. I really do. If he's got ace king, ace queen, and then you've got to hit a deuce or a spade. Good luck.
Come on.
We raise all in.
Whoa.
Pass.
And this is what Dwan was showing Hellmuth the whole time. He's finally found a hand to pull the trigger with.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
10 jack suited again? Or is it the king 10
You
this
got the
time?
calls? I love it.
Oh, Tony, you can't even talk about poker with me. I don't mind. If Juha wants to discuss strategy with me, I don't mind. He can talk, you know. These two young guns, they can talk, but you can't even talk. I mean, you're so bad. You don't even understand the game.
I'm so happy to play with the best.
I know. For you to be in this
I'm
tournament,
the home game player, the businessman's friend.
I know that.
that's all I am.
At least you admit it. I give you credit for admitting it.
My turn, Tom.
I give you credit for admitting it.
I'm not a poker. I'm a businessman.
I know. I give you credit.
I know my level, but I'm enjoying it. You know, I'm the guy that everyone at home can play as good as. And you're not. You're in a different league. I don't know.
No, not
People want to watch more. They want to watch the person they can equal to.
No, you have a lot of
Nobody can equal you.
No, you have a lot of skill. Don't misunderstand me. You have a lot of skill.
Please. You're going over the top now.
You do have a lot of skill.
I have a lot of heart.
You have a lot of skill. Yeah, you have a lot of heart.
This is a conversation like it's the small hours at a dinner party.
To the game.
Everyone's been nice. They've been polite. They've made small talk. Now they're all drunk and the gloves are coming off.
You're so right. You are so right. And right now, with Tom having these chips, Phil has to reinvent his strategy because Tom showed him that open hand and cuffed him around the neck with it.
Now this is dangerous for Tony G. Dwan, when he finds a big hand, it's always great for him because of his reputation.
Wow.
I think, yeah, I mean...
I was calling.
Luckily for Tony...
I can't call.
You know, this is the kind of hand that's either going to miss the flop completely or really hit it. But
Tony's not too good to call.
Not too good to lose the pot.
You know, Dwan will always have the credit for no hand.
Check.
Of course, Tony G is winning.
Well, Tony's played several matches in this Premier League against Dwan, Vicky, and he's always sort of played to keep the pot small and be very defensive. I have the feeling that Tom is going to be able to win this if he bets big, but not if he bets small.
I don't know. Now the board is paired. Tony knows that turn cards are blanked.
You know, Tom knows that Tony has been sort of being calling very strong. You know, he's even capable of having a much bigger pair here.
I think Tony's playing this very well. He checked the flop to control the pot size. Now he's making a sort of well-priced value bet. Ooh, now that's a scary card for Tony, but I think... Whoa! Dwan checks it. He checks it. We'll never know if Tony G would have called the bet.
Losers never loses. You hear that?
That's not true.
I know it makes Phil help.
Tony outplayed him there. Tom could have won that, Vicky.
That's a scary guy.
He knows
That's
he could have, too.
That's the sort of card I could call in with.
He likes
I
it.
got pretty on that hand.
I think with that scary straightening card, I don't know, actually. I really don't. I think if Dwan had bet every street, he'd win, but I think Tony might have called on the
You
river.
never called the deuces there. He had the winner. That's what makes you feel strong.
I got pretty owned there.
Well, not only calling, but then betting.
Betting you. Because it doesn't make any sense.
It's kind of an easy bet on the turn, right? I mean, of course I would have bet it by now.
Phil's now jealous because Dwan is complimenting Tony G. Phil so wants the admiration of Dwan. He can't bear to hear him paying compliments to Tony. He's going, oh, I thought it was an easy bet.
That's why I knocked over your chips, because I thought I got owned.
I give it the leverage there to like, wow.
Oh, I was frustrated there. I would have.
You would have won a big ad. I would have hit a deuce
small. Would have won a
Juha,
small.
I'd forgotten he was there.
You could have.
You might have called.
I might have called it. That's such a good card.
If you look into the future here, Vicky, a couple rounds from now, I don't see how Phil's gonna win a pot without picking up cards.
Yeah, he was
you know, Tom is on him like a raincoat.
Honestly,
you know,
I can tell you I might have called it.
It's horrible to have Tom looming there behind him. And, you know, let's not rule out Annette, a strong, aggressive player who's got, you know, still a strong re-raising stack. That's not very nice for Phil either. He doesn't like this. Phil is in his element when he's surrounded by very weak players. That's not happening here.
I had the king 6 against you.
events and chips and position are conspiring to kick Hellmuth out of this Premier League. Is 21 points going to be enough for him? I don't think so.
Depends what happens to everyone else. This is the frustrating thing, is your fate is not just in your own hands. It also relies on what other people do.
Yeah, definitely.
A little more. I got to go like 8,000.
Yeah, 8
You want to support me because, Phil, you want to put a bit of pressure on the great Brad? Just a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, he wants to give his chips to you.
He has to outlast Tony G. He really does.
You can prove to the whole world that you're too good to lose. And too good to fold. And too good to call.
My God,
he has to outlast Tony G. If he outlasts Tony G, then it's very unlikely he gets knocked out of the top 8.
Look at this craftiness from Dwan. He limps in to try and induce the raise. She's too clever. She is just too clever. He limps. He wants her to raise with no hand. I think she knows what he's up to.
Yeah, if he had made a small raise, they might have shipped them all in. Huh?
Actually, with a big pot there.
Wow.
Don't worry, I'm gonna be all in.
Now I can't see how Dwan can pass on this flop.
If he gets 2 more, he's gone.
He could be pissed.
They both checked. It's hilarious, and it better hope that the queen doesn't come.
I really like slow down and just enjoy it.
I'm gonna get my money in. That's what I'm gonna tell you.
Wow.
You know what I love is the frustration of Dwan. He doesn't know he's behind. But he was desperate for this aggressive young woman to bet into him with his jacks, and she just wasn't doing it. And now she does, with the best of it.
I mean, he's used the same lines. Can you get anything new for us? I mean, it's ridiculous.
He can't pass here, but it looks like he's committed to losing the minimum.
He's going to call on the river as well, whatever comes. If it's the queen, obviously, then he'll
By
raise.
the way, I've run into a lot of people's cousins this trip. By the way,
I understand.
Yeah. There's been a lot of cousins around. You know what I mean?
1 or 2 cousins.
I don't think Annette needs to bet again. Annette can check and call. If she has done that, it's a case of whether...
Doesn't she have to find a value bet here? I mean, is she going to find a better opportunity to make chips?
Oh, I thought she was first to speak. No, you're absolutely right. Yes, she must bet. And Dwan, really uncomfortable. Looking back and thinking, why didn't he raise pre-flop? Why did he have to be so damn clever?
I can win this and make the final 4, right?
You can. You can do it.
If she had a lot of hands, you know, kings, tens, I think she would be checking here. That's what my Tom must be thinking. So maybe it has to be an ace or 2 pair or a flush or a bluff.
That's exactly what he's trying to work out.
We'll make the impossible lay down.
Yes.
Wow, great pass. I mean, it's a great pass. You know, he played that hand that way with a plan.
You got to show the king pre-flop.
Didn't pay off and he passed.
Show it.
No, I don't want to show it.
Dun 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 dun. Pressure raining down on me. Pressure. I love it. I'm under pressure like every day. You know that, right? I'm always under pressure. Always some young kids trying to come up. be the greatest Hold'em players. Gotta defend against them, gotta prove myself every time out. If I look bad once on television, they play that on the internet.
Does Phil realise he's saying this out loud?
Raise to 10,000 total. Pass.
Pressure raining down on me.
Pass.
Raining down on you.
We can hear you, Phil.
It is. It's true.
Peel off a turn.
Here we go, baby. I'm gonna check it.
You see,
Now-
he doesn't re-raise. He doesn't put the pressure back on. That's what I'm saying. He is not comfortable playing the big pots, and he's up against players who are. Tom Dwan is just not afraid of a big pot, and he wouldn't be even if he wasn't the chip leader. What's he calling the raise for? You know, pair of deuces, stick it all in if you're feeling lucky, or throw the hand away. What are you calling a raise? Why? To flop a set?
I appreciate it if you don't say something like that in the middle of my hands, Tony.
I know.
If that's all right with you.
All right. I just know you're folding. I understand. When you do that, I just know that like that's the end of the hand.
Tony, what was that?
Deuces never loses.
I mean,
Trying to flop a set.
There's about 50. There's about 70% chance they're still good, but I got to let them rob me a little bit so I can get them later for the
So you
big
can flop
money.
a set next time.
I mean, I really want to stress,
Make sure no more red.
as I always do, Phil Hellmuth is a great player with a great record, but in this format, you do not call a raise with a pair of twos. That is not how you play them.
You know, I'm under pressure everywhere I go. I mean, there's always these young players that come along, they do well for a year or two, they think they've reinvented poker. Most times they're just playing like megalomaniacs, just super fast and crazy, and you know, we don't see them 2 or 3 years later. But in the meanwhile, they take pot shots and slight the champions, and you know, and you just kind of just roll your eyes, you know, and then, you know, even this trip, I've seen some of the guys that slighted me say, "Wow, I couldn't believe that you did that." You know, and so all of a sudden, just from watching me for like one session, they're like, "Wow, I underestimated you." So I don't know what they're watching, but
I did not have a red card. That's got to make him feel good about his fold,
Two
actually.
red cards. Yeah.
I have no choice. I don't mind.
No, you have to flop a set. That's all.
I don't have to flop a set. I can have.
You know where
I
it
can
works?
be slow playing
It works
aces,
against JC
kings,
Tran.
it can be-
That's why that
There's no
heads
way
up
I'm
was such
re-raising Durrr
brilliant
before the flop,
poker.
that's about right.
Because he and JC Tran actually have a similar approach. They both want to play small, clever, cunning pots. You know, it works, but it doesn't work against Tom Dwan. It just doesn't.
Just thinking of shipping here, Vicky. Now, he has had 53,000. If he does and Tony calls, it'll be a race. Is Tony calling with the threes? That's the question. Is Phil shipping?
I think Tony is calling if Phil makes the move. I think Tony will
What I'm
call.
going to do here, boys.
He seems to
And
have an inkling that
girls.
maybe Tony is not that strong.
You know, I don't think he's going to move all in at level 2 with ace-4. I think he's irritated that he doesn't have more chips that he can just call, try and do something cunning on the flop.
The problem is, I mean, he knows that...
I'm going to raise it up.
Wow!
Oh, okay. I take it back. He is raising.
Tony will just call him out of spite.
16,000.
16 more, 20,000 total.
Okay, well,
All that time, we'll look at that.
it's effectively
You
all in,
raise
isn't it?
all
You've got to
in?
assume he's not going to pass for the rest of it, and there is Tony.
That would have been a good spot to qualify. Sorry, it's not an all-in.
Hang on.
Phil has given Tony this option, and
She took 20.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If Phil moves all in, then Tony calls.
Right.
So
As it is, Phil has put in an amount that he can't pass for.
36,000 more.
Oh, you can make a good laydown, mate.
A good laydown? You saying you could beat me?
I'm saying I could beat you. I'm saying I could beat you.
You know, I mean, I think I have you beat. I think I'm only a small favorite, though. And you could have me dominated. I'm probably just a small favorite. These points are so important. How many more hands at this level?
it is a big decision.
Huh?
And I wonder if there's a sort of this new psych out where
Sorry,
Tony's...
Marty, I got the answer.
He's not calling the clock. Is he trying to convince...
Get the clock out at the same
There
time.
we go, baby!
Get the clock out at the same time. Oh, yeah. We're going to start calling him the clockmaker. Oh, Phil can't stand it. Jesus, he's like a guy who sat down and forgot his hemorrhoid cushion.
choose one
He's
card.
had to pass.
You can choose one card.
On the left.
They're two different, I promise.
On the
you.
left.
All right, this one?
Yeah.
It's a baby one.
All right. Let's see it.
What was it?
It's a great. It's all right. Nothing to
How
be
much
ashamed
do you see this
of.
one?
Oh, no! Oh, no!
It's a small one. We're not looking for big ones. You got the baby. How did you choose the small one? I should have played high or low. That would have been more fun. It's all right. You might have called it a laydown, man. I mean, we all know you're too good to call.
Hellmuth left himself with only 33,000.
How do you get to that level where you get so good you cannot call anymore? You can't call anything. Even if you have kings, you can't call.
You're so original, Tony. You use the same needle every time. It's unbelievable.
5 more minutes and it'll be you've got a
Just
big
to go
nose.
for-
No, you've got a big nose.
No, I know, but I mean,
Wow.
I may have had you dominated, actually. I can't believe you just... I guess you're just thinking, I mean, see, here's the beautiful thing. You're making fun of the way I play, but the reality is you play so badly and you're such a big underdog that you just want to shove with any two against me to try to get lucky. That's what the world doesn't
Okay,
know.
I got high and low. Now you can choose.
That's what
Hang
the
on,
world
choose
doesn't
this.
know.
I want to see the low card.
I haven't
I
asked
don't know
for
which
one of
ones
your
they
cards
are.
yet.
Choose which ones.
Right
High or
one,
low?
Right one. Right one. No.
No, you
no,
can
no,
choose
no.
one.
The other one.
This one?
Yeah.
That's the low. That was the low.
There is no one better at kicking a man when he's down
even
than
lower.
Tony G.
3.
No one.
I can't get much lower than that, Phil. So next hand will be bigger. There's a chance to move over the top.
You're just lucky Durrr doesn't move it on you every hand. He wouldn't even be able to raise another pot. And you
Is
can't
that what you want me
possibly
to do?
call him.
You're lucky Phyllis.
Oh, I don't know. You want to play games with me?
It's hard to shove
He had
40
chips,
big
I'm
blinds,
shoving.
but Tony would call
Trust
with
me,
kings.
I would call.
I would have shoved
I'll
him.
bet he
in.
doesn't call with kings.
If Phil had more chips, I would have shoved. Or if he was out.
Here's how
I
serious it
should've
is,
just
Vicky.
shoved and made him
If
call.
Phil
That was
Hellmuth
a
goes
mistake
out
to make
fifth,
that hand.
he will have 21 points.
That's right. You weren't prepared to
That
put it
means that he'll need either
I misplayed this
you
hand, too. I
or
should've made
roll
it
in to finish
12,000.
last in the next
someone re-raise
last
me.
match
Yeah, lovely.
in order to get 8th place.
I'm really looking forward to my last match.
Not a
The
bad
number of
play.
people who'll be hoping I come last is
Hey,
going up and
hey, I
up.
should have made it 12 dimes, and you would have re-raised me for sure, right?
And Dwan with a chance to take Hellmuth out.
like the way I
You know,
played this
it
hand.
might not actually suit him. Well,
Nice
okay, it does suit him.
Well, he thinks Hellmuth is capable of doing this with a wider range, given the stack. As it is Hellmuth in front.
Of course, I'm not weak.
But it's, you know, it's a bit of a race. It's, you know, he's
It sounded like you didn't
only
want to
6 to
call.
4, Dwan. He's not miles behind. Oh, he's hit the queen.
Oh, he's going to do their dirty work now.
But Hellmuth's up and down. The 8 or the
You're up
king
and down.
makes a straight for Hellmuth.
Yeah.
The king's gone.
Dwan
I
does
can do
not
it,
want
you know,
two
just
pair
has
at
to
this
get my money.
moment.
What's the best hand?
There's no clubs out there. An 8,
Could be
an
the bite, the
ace,
long
or a
bite.
king needed for Hellmuth.
I kind of deserve to hit it the way
You
I've
do
gone.
deserve. The way,
I really
the way you've
deserve-
been
the way-
playing.
The way I played, I deserve
No
to
doubt.
hit it.
We all agree.
But I
There's
don't
one
think-
player in
I
the
don't think
Premier
it's
League.
coming, though.
If there's one player that deserves to win this and go on and win the whole thing, it's you. You've played like a champion. If it was me, I wouldn't deserve.
Oh, he's out.
No luck. Unlucky.
Hellmuth's gone.
Unlucky. Ship the side
Vicky,
bet.
his fate is out of his hands.
The bike's out.
What the fuck, man? I mean, every big pot we played, Durrr was a massive underdog.
No, unlucky.
All he has to do is stick pins in a voodoo doll of me, and he could yet be alive.
And Tony's so bad, he ships with the 3. just
I'm
'cause
the worst.
He knows he's the
Keep
worst.
telling.
I don't mind.
I know you don't. You'll be back. You'll bounce back. Bigger and better than ever. Going to rehab for a few weeks.
3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th in the league standings left at the table. So the league will be blown apart tonight. And for Phil Hellmuth, all he can do is watch the last match from the sidelines.
It's enormously frustrating. I mean, here's the bad thing is that I'm playing great poker this year. You know, last year maybe I didn't play my best, but this year I've played some great poker and I've just been horribly unlucky. And I mean, it's going to come down to where 1 or 2 points makes a difference here.
He runs so
Then
bad
that's
this
done.
league.
If all 4 of these players are guaranteed to be in the top 8, and you are someone
me
like
and Phil
Annette
to be
and
5th and
Tony,
6th.
the difference right now
Phil's
between
up.
8th and
I'll
5th
let him down.
is basically nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't really make any difference. There's a small issue of the chips you would take through to the final
Right.
table if you do in the playoffs, but, you know, they don't care about that. They absolutely. I mean, I think they might as well have gone for the win from the beginning.
Right.
But certainly now.
Right.
All in. Pass.
Well, this is very interesting.
Yeah, well, this is kind of along those lines. I think this is sort of Annette's idea now. She's just going to go for it all the time.
These two, of course, on equal points at the start of the match, 22, so they're the most direct rivals at the table.
62 more.
And, you know, Dwan is
really quick.
Yeah.
I tell you what would be an interesting question for a tactician. Should Dwan call if he can see the hand? On the one hand, Annette's free rolling for the flush. On the other hand, Tom's already put chips in the pot. What should he do if he could see her cards? I guess he has to call.
I think so.
I mean, he's got 2 flush draws.
I think there's only 62,000 to call, and there's certainly more than 0.5% dead money in the pot.
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, there's 74,000 in the pot. Yeah.
Call.
He's made the call. The hearts would be sickening, sickening for
I'm
Dwan.
suited, though. I like my free roll.
I have 2 flush draws.
Yeah, but you need 4 cards to hit.
Now, you see, tell me you couldn't this just couldn't be happening in the chat box. 2 players typing furiously.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them is going to say, "I've owned you." Yeah, I've owned you, and then LDW, and then OMG, I am HOP.
And everyone else writing ROFL.
I like the Queen of Hearts, though.
Well, still the backdoor flush draw for Annette there.
Oh,
Oh, there's a heart. Oh, she can make a flush.
Hello, darling.
It's not going to happen, is it? It's not
That's
going to
okay.
happen.
At least I get a straight then. Then it's a bad beat.
Makes you feel better.
Ooh.
So close.
No. Nice hands.
Too good.
What
Too
do you
good to
have, a
call,
jack?
Tony.
You have 6?
Too good to call.
NHs.
That would have been sweet. But I don't think you're calling if I call.
I don't know. I mean, when I get the value.
Then you're getting real value. True value.
I'll take the 2K chips.
Tell you what.
I don't know how I feel about my.
Do you think the mood has noticeably lightened now that Phil Hellmuth is gone? I mean,
Probably not.
The mood lines.
well, I mean, you can just kind of tell that Annette is the pressure is off her now.
The mood's lightened because they're all through to the top 8. They can all have a bit more fun now, open up a bit more.
I mean, she is a player for me in this Premier League, Vicky, who really came through when the back was against the wall. She only had 12 points at the beginning of her last match. She needed the win. She got the win. And then she came in here today, and she didn't bottle it, really.
I think there's only one self-qualifier.
The pressure, as only 4 league points separate these 4 players, is that final table berths will be sorted from here on in. And perhaps
Raise to 15,000
one who
total.
goes out next might not even make the playoffs. Dwan's chip lead and pushing ahead the deuce 4 shows what he thinks of the strategy.
We raise all in.
Helppi has moved, and I'm not sure if Helppi has enough of re-raise here to fold Dwan. The question is, what is Tony G going to do?
It doesn't matter. I'm all in.
Yep.
Wow.
And Vicky, this has to do with the fact that Tony knows that it's not a bad spot to gamble.
Yeah, you know what I think? That when Tony said it doesn't matter, what he means is
I got to win.
forget the
I gotta win
points,
the hit.
forget
Yeah.
the strategy. I think I've got the best of it. I'm going for first
She
place.
says,
Yeah.
I've got to win.
I like King Queen against Ace.
I like it too.
No,
I wish I could have your hand.
Yeah,
you know?
maybe not. suited.
Sorry, but Tom Dwan has tactically played a great game, but Tony G has been brilliant
working on
tonight.
something.
I mean,
Helppi needs a
And you
jack.
he has brought to this. He may win this. Tony G may be at the final table.
Listen, you're totally right. It's only 3 points Juha gets if he gets knocked out now, which means that second place does become enough for Annette and Tom Dwan to move ahead.
Oh!
She's good, man. Well done.
Oh, Tony.
Oh, that's bad.
I really wasn't expecting that.
That's bad.
Nah, she's dealing.
Really there?
Yep.
Oh,
you forgot to burn
he's
a card.
done so many things right
I have
tonight,
deals. I don't win a
Tony
hand.
G.
I don't win a hand.
Keep your chin up, G. Keep your chin up. It was a huge flop for G. I mean, he made, first of all, a great re-raise with the ace-10, Vicky. But tactically, he had to go for the win.
Yeah, it was a good gutsy re-raise, and really, they're kind of racing before the flop. On the flop, though, Tony's a massive favourite, and it's a sickening river card for him.
And the chip counts now will put Tony and Juha very similar. Tom still to half the chips in play, and it's all gonna just crank up another little notch.
Ooh, is Tom Dwan going to try and bully him? No. Ah.
It's pretty standard stuff from Annette here. I mean, with her chip count and her position.
Yeah, Annette's got to move with this.
She'd need to take a race if she could find one, and she hasn't really found one.
And Annette's been lucky with fives. Let's not forget she knocked out Andy Black in the last heat when he had 2 kings with the fives.
She did.
You had a 5?
That's not a good thing.
Oh, there's the 9.
Those 2 cards are good for you.
Annette needing runner. Ace 4 or 4 6.
I do like the flop.
Yeah, you're right. Ace 4 6, much better than a 5.
And ace 4 6.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Annette is drawing dead with the 9 of clubs in Tony's hand. Wow. What a sudden rush of activity for Tony G, and unlucky for Annette.
She is going to be on 25 points, but she's guaranteed a spot in the top 8. And between these 3 now, actually, Juha's under a bit of pressure here because he cannot go out 3rd.
No.
He needs the 2nd.
Vicky, if she wins, she'll knock you out.
Around the table, they've asked for the score sheet, so everyone knows exactly what they've got to do.
So you're in great shape now. You're going to be in the top 4, my friend.
And in the green room, players are watching events unfold, noting how this will impact their last game. So Juha is actually in a bit of trouble from his button, I think. You know, if he makes a small raise, feels to me like anybody can re-raise him with a wide variety of hands. Are you with me? I mean...
Yeah, but then Juha's smart enough to know that, so he can widen out his own hand range, and King Jack becomes much stronger than it otherwise would be.
Cool.
As it happens, no need.
About 130, roughly.
Yeah. Be surprised to see the money go in here. Vicky Dwan's flopped a flush draw. He might want to fast play it.
It's about as much of an action flop as you can get with those 2 hands going against each other.
And if Tom does bet here, Juha may just shove.
16,000.
I mean, there's no denying that Dwan played this hand weird.
Raised.
I'm just guessing by that raise, Vicky, that Juha thinks his hand is so big that he doesn't mind if Dwan gets the chips in first.
Well, this is what I mean. Helppi knows that his jack is winning, but whether Dwan's got a flush draw, a straight draw, a smaller pair, the way he played it pre-flop, Dwan, it's unreadable. He likes to do that long pause, and then as he lifts the chips, I'm all in. I think he may be doing that here.
He does have one of the cooler all-ins on the Premier League circuit, doesn't he?
All in.
There you go. Just before he drops the chips, I'm all in.
So.
Well, that's a good call from Juha. He's not frightened of the 3rd place. Not frightened to only get the 4 points.
This is going to be a huge turnaround for Dwan. Little smile from Tony G. And you got that guy to stick it all in with the deuce 7. Well, it's a flush draw. It is.
Just don't give it to me on the turn. If I miss it, that's okay. I just don't want to catch it on the turn.
Yeah, I agree.
And the worst card would be the 3 of hearts.
Oh, God. Oh, God. But, I mean, that's okay, because he has enough outs. It's like the 4 of hearts where I'm in bad shape.
That's good.
That's not what I want to see, like an offsuit 4.
It's a big card.
It's
a big card.
It's not easy to miss.
Did he do that?
It's up to Amanda.
I know.
Yeah. Well, he's safe. Juha's safe. He played the hand very well, Juha, fearlessly, really. You know, obviously it was a big hand and he hit a big flop, but absolutely unswayed by the fact that 2nd place would be good enough for him tonight.
And he's in very good shape now. 309,000 to basically guarantee second place. It'll be interesting to see exactly what happens now between Tony G and Dwan.
100.
You know, Tom might feel like second place is a viable option. I just get the feeling, Vicky, that he doesn't. That he doesn't like having his fate out of his hands. He'd rather take a shot at winning it.
I mean, I know how he feels. Listen, I'm in a situation where if Juha comes second, it's terrible for me. You know, either I want Juha to go out third or win it, and then I've got a shot where if I win my match and Peter Eastgate's out first, I can still make the top 4. Juha coming second is terrible. That means 2 people overtake me. I can't make the top 4. So, you know, I hate having my fate out of my hands. I'm not even sitting at the poker table.
Doesn't he look delighted?
137.
Well, quite right too, you know. Juha, I think, plays one of the best strategies of anybody that's here for this tournament. That's my opinion. He's won it once before. He didn't have a great start.
He's looking very strong right now, isn't he, Vicky?
He's looking strong.
He really, he dug down deep. There was a point in this Premier League where Juha, he took a bagel, I think. He went back. He watched all the matches. I think he drank some blood. I'm not exactly sure what happened in the middle there, but he came back strong.
Raised to 16,000 total.
May have burned incense. Not really sure. Prayed to a few idols.
He's definitely been burning something if he wants to play this hand. But
Took the head off a
you know, he's got the chip lead now. He's got the chip lead, which gives him much more flexibility to try and put pressure back on Dwan, who he thinks is an absolute burglar.
Well, I actually don't get it, Vicky. I mean, why would he? I guess he's in position, but beyond that, wouldn't he just kind of?
I tell you why. It's because he thinks that Tom Dwan can be raising with absolutely nothing, but it might be the kind of nothing that leads him to make the scary all-in re-raise pre-flop. If Helppi raises him before the flop, Dwan might do that I'm all-in thing. Then it's horrible. After cards, Helppi feels he might have a better chance of taking it off him.
I just feel like Dwan just doesn't care right now. I mean, he just has to play completely amuck here. And if Helppi just sits back, I mean, sooner or later, Dwan and Tony G are just going to play a big pot.
22,000.
I mean, Juha can't make a move here, can he?
Well, Juha's got to figure out whether it's possible to make Dwan pass, and he decides not. It's relief for Dwan. He's got no idea his hand was winning. No idea he was in front.
No. I mean, it's hard. Obviously, I don't know what the correct strategy is, Vicky, but everyone right now has some sort of idea in their head about what they think is the right thing to do.
I think they've got to play hard. I think they've got to gamble. They've got to put pressure on. They've got to go for the win. Ironically, apart from Juha, who could take second, and he's the one who's playing toughest.
Right. That's why it just seems to me like Juha. I mean, if you're Juha right now, don't you have a huge argument for just holding on to your money and letting Tony and Tom play a big pot?
Except, and we can get too bogged down in the whatevs, but it's bad for Juha if Tom Dwan wins it. Because if Juha comes second and Tom Dwan wins, Dwan's in front. And then Peter Eastgate has to come last for Juha to make the top 4.
My grandma had wheels. Yes, you're right. Of course you're right.
Well, at this stage, that's not a hand that Tony G can let go of.
7,000.
He may just ship it in. I guess there is sort of this line between playing crazy and just being suicidal, but I guess if Tony G ships it in there.
You know, he's got middle bet. If he decides not to be frightened of the flush draw, then basically Juha's not going to call him with a worse hand, and he may bet again when he's not in front.
He's definitely got his mojo back, Tony G, doesn't he?
He definitely does.
Yeah, showing cards. He got him to show the 3. That was all worked very well. 3 of hearts. It looked like a flush draw.
First, second, third. My first, second, third, fifth.
I beat you because I beat you heads up.
Do you have a second?
No, but now I would. If I go.
Wait, what do you have now?
First and you don't even
I have
the
first,
third.
third.
place. You
I have third. Yeah, last time I got.
You have first, third, and second? Or first, third, fifth?
No, I have first. But I beat you. I'm not sure how it is. We'll have to find out. I beat you heads up.
If you come second, you can make it easily. If you come second and he's third.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
But the thing it becomes.
Well, I'll ask him on the break. I'll ask Marty to find out. Because that like matters a bit.
Yeah.
And this is almost over, so it doesn't matter. But
Yeah, Tom's actually. These guys were aware of the points, Vicky, but Tom's not aware of the tiebreaker situation because basically, if he comes second and Tony comes third, they're going to have the same number of. Excuse me, if Tony comes second and he comes third, they'll have the same number of points.
So it comes down to who's got the higher place finishes overall.
If he comes third and Tony comes second, I believe they're going to have the same number of.
Check.
No, I believe Tom's ahead because he's going to have 2/3. That's what it looks like to me.
Meanwhile, middle pair for Tom Dwan.
Tom would win the tiebreakers.
9,000.
It's great, though. Isn't it great that it's so close?
Not even if you come second or third. I still can get you. You only get on 20,
It is
right?
right now. If you think about the likelihood, the likelihood is that Tom and Juha are both going to be in the top 4. It's not definite because it depends obviously on who wins the last match, but there's a likelihood of that happening. Obviously,
third and you win and Juha gets second, then I'm screwed.
Vicky, you and Roland, if one of you wins the last match, that would change things.
Yeah.
But if any of the other 4 players win the last match,
that's the best.
Which is.
I'm hoping Roland's going to play the last match like he did last time. Get blinded out. That's what I'm hoping for. Well, nothing there. But Helppi with the draw may decide to raise this inveterate thief.
You could, he could, Vicky. And on the other hand, knowing that Tom Dwan has nothing to lose by going out now, it's scary to play against a guy like that. It's scary to bluff a guy like that, isn't it?
But see, this is what they're saying openly. I still believe it's worth it for Tom Dwan to try and win it, trying to go ahead on points in front of Peter Eastgate. But he says second or third is the same, which, you know, it's good tactic. Makes him sound like a scarier opponent. I just don't care. It's very Mad Max, isn't it? Don't care.
I just wonder if Juha bets, what is Tom going to? And he's checked it.
They've both got a straight draw.
Well, that's made Juha's hand.
Well, it has. He's unlucky in a way that it's the 7 of spades because it disguises less well the fact that he's hit. You know, makes it easier for Dwan to pass for the river bet, which is surely coming.
A lot of people would look at that and say maybe it's a good bluffing card. Dwan has looked at it and said it's a very bad bluffing card, I'm guessing, Vicky.
Well, and, he's against Juha. You know, Juha's, you know, he's put him on something.
Juha's trying to decide, I'm guessing, Vicky, if it's worth putting a value bet in.
He must bet. He absolutely has to bet. I think he's just trying to decide how much. You know, we've had situations come up in earlier matches where it was wrong to bet a straight or a flush on a paired board. But this situation, this hand against that opponent at this stage,
yeah,
I think he should put a bet in.
A big bet or a small bet?
A small bet.
I don't see you calling with anything. I want to see your hand.
You got it. Queen high.
I don't know.
I don't know. He wanted to see his hand. Queen deuce, offsuit. Now, what does that tell you, Juha?
I don't think I was on it, but I was...
Yeah, it's a
maybe it's a good check. I don't know. I mean, all I'm saying is it's because a hand that Juha can call with. It's bad to bet if he would pass for a raise from Dwan, but I think in that particular spot, Juha can afford to make the bet and call a raise, because even if he's wrong, he's got the chip lead, he's got enough points to make the top 4. I would have gambled in Juha's spot, made the bet, and if the guy wants to raise him, then say good luck to you and make the call.
It's fascinating, isn't it? There's definitely the tactics and everything that's going on. Whether or not these guys are making the right decisions or the wrong decisions, there's definitely things that are coming into play with their decisions here that don't usually happen in a poker tournament.
Wow.
Juha on the button, and I don't know. I think playing tight, but he hasn't really been.
Cool.
You know what I love? I love the fact that they all talk about how they need the win, or it doesn't matter, or second, third. It's all the same to me. To convey that we're playing in a real kamikaze style. They're not playing like that at all. They're all trying to outlast each other.
That's going to be a new one.
You know, the guys, I think, Vicky, like Tony G and Juha, they are much more aware of how important it is to get to the final table than probably someone like Tom Dwan, who hasn't been here before. Those heads-up matches are grueling, aren't they? Anything can happen.
And let me tell you, Tom Dwan is not passing this up and down draw.
I wonder if his plan is to raise the turn. Well, he's not going to be able to raise the turn anymore. Tony's checked in the dark.
Raise the turn, whatever comes. I quite like that. Well, or bet, as you say. Well, I think Dwan may now feel that his 3 is winning. He's checked it.
Well, he certainly must feel like he has some sort of showdown value, I guess. Tony hasn't checked in the dark for the river. He may. Is there a bluff here? 7 or 8 doesn't come.
Well, now there is the straight for Dwan. And this is interesting because Tony G has played it very well, you know. He hasn't really put any chips at risk. I mean, obviously he was in front pre-flop and on the flop, but not really.
And
he's done well not to try and bluff the guy.
He can continue to play it well if he folds to a bet here. It was probably the best way to play.
Of course, he's going to fold. He could call him with 8 high. Of course not.
It would certainly be the best way for Tony to play at this stage.
I would advise a fold here for Tony. I can say that as an expert, Jesse. I've been a poker commentator for many years, and my expert opinion is Tony should pass here.
Don't do anything crazy, Mr. G.
21,000.
Because, I mean, if you ever are going to get sick on a banana peel here, like, now is the time. Because, you know, it's like, a sick bluffs. I mean, why not now, you know?
No.
Nothing to lose.
The 5 is too dangerous. I mean, I think he goes Tom Dwan doesn't have an ace, but 5 is too risky.
If you pick the other one, you'd get really angry. Damn it.
No.
Damn it.
No. Not with an 8 high. But anyway. Still fun.
I thought the other one was on that side too, so I got happy when you were flipping it.
See, it's the one thing you cannot do on the internet, Vic. You cannot show just one card.
No.
So it is probably the weakest part of Tom Dwan's game. I mean,
the one card reveal.
It's hard to say that there's a weak part to his game, but it's probably he's had the least practice in showing just one card.
You know what I think is another weak part of his game as an online player? The snack timing. He's always hungry about 7 minutes in. I think it's because as an online player, he's used to being able to get a pizza at any time.
Right.
You know, a lot of these onliners, they make the mistake of how long before the match to eat, and this is a big part of poker.
Big re-raise all in from Juha, and I mean, Tony's still got 120. Well,
he's giving it up.
Okay.
It's a good pass, good pass. He's not getting stubborn, you see, Tony. He's not. Doesn't get stubborn with the ace-deuce. He knows it's no good.
Dwan on the button. And the blinds are going to 5 and 10,000 after this.
Yeah, last chance to make a big re-raise and pass. Coming now.
Raise 15,000 total. Pass. Call.
Okay.
Check.
And I mean, it's not Tony's style to make big bluffs of pots against Tom Dwan. But that said, Vicky, you know, nothing to lose for Tony. No difference really between third and second and that sort of thing.
And you know, Tony could have an ace here. You know, the other way around, no. But Tony can call a bet pre-flop with an ace in a way that Dwan probably wouldn't. But he's not going to represent.
Pass.
Top 4? Yeah, top 8.
Well, Vicky, blinds are going to 5 and 10,000, and fortunate for the Premier League, NASA has called. We've been doing a little more advanced bracketology, and it turns out that if Juha Helppi there gets third and Tom Dwan gets second, then Tom will actually have Juha beat on tiebreakers. So Dwan does not care about getting third or second unless Juha goes out third. That's the only time second would be a big bonus for him.
Not this dark.
But you can see that Tony G has had a little think about strategy, and it looks like pedal to the metal stuff for him.
He might as well. I mean, it's a weird situation for Tony G. He's probably got the craziest player in the lineup on his left, raises with the most trash, and one of the most solid on his right. He doesn't want to kind of fall between two stools.
Stimulation.
Sounds like he's going to go the Dwan route rather than the Helppi route, sticking it in with that 9-5.
I think, Vicky, from the button, Tony's in a strong position because Juha doesn't want to call him lightly. But I guess it's all a balance of what your cards are as well. But Juha does have a lot of chips.
Call.
All these guys, though, going for the win. The win is what guarantees them the top 4 finish. They can all get the top 4 finish another way, but it'll involve results from the next match. The win is the guarantee.
That's a nice flop for Juha. You know, if you're going to get a free ride with the 7-3, that's the place you want to be dropped off at the end.
Yeah, now, Juha played a straight draw against Dwan very passively a while ago. Of course, this time it involves a pair, and he's got 150,000 more chips than Tom.
16,000.
Yeah, his only concern is whether Dwan limped with a strong hand, but he clearly feels... I don't know what he clearly feels, actually, because he didn't raise there. There's an argument for raising with the pair in the draw.
I mean, I wonder if this is a good spot for Tom to just keep on firing. Is Juha prepared to call him down with threes? I mean, Juha obviously going out third is a real, at this stage, a pretty big disaster for Juha. And
yeah, but again, Tom knows that Juha is unlikely to call him with nothing. So what he doesn't know is if Juha's got to draw a big hand. I mean, he's a difficult person to bet into with nothing, Juha.
You'd think. Wouldn't you think that Helppi would be happy to sort of check this one down? Or does he need to protect his hand if he thinks he's ahead?
I think he needs to protect his hand. He's got a pair of threes, you know. He's got to assume there's 2 overcards out there against him. As it happens, there aren't. But he's got to assume that. I think that's absolutely right to bet it.
I guess you can overthink the position sometimes and not just play the hand, right? And that's what Juha's not guilty of.
Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, this was the tragedy for Roland in the last series. He thought so much about the points. He ended up getting himself blinded out of a heat. You know, he just forgot completely that you got to play poker.
I know. It's a cash game for me. Cash game for me and tourney for you guys. That's like perfect situation.
It's the same for me. I got to win.
What do you mean if you get second? and I win.
Second and third are no difference.
If you get second and I win, there's a big difference for you. You can still make it.
If I get second or third, there's no... Oh.
There's no difference?
No, but if I get third, I'm probably in anyway.
If Vicky is second, you have... no, you have still the same, 26.
I don't think there is.
Yeah, I think it's the same for you.
Well, Tom's saying that he's playing a cash game, the others are playing a tournament, for implying that he shouldn't be scared of going broke here.
Now, what Tom also did was become a lot less engaged in that conversation when he found the hand. Juha's moved anyway, but the call is without doubt coming.
Yeah, and Tom will never fold here because of that thought. I mean,
I had a deuce.
he's happy to take this race. Even if you had turned them over, he's still happy to take it, Vicky, because...
you know who loves this coup? Tony G.
Yeah, you're right.
Loves it.
I just want a wheel draw.
Queen deuce.
That's all I want. It's just a wheel draw.
If I'd have known, I would have called queen deuce.
Oh!
You got the hearts.
I wanted the wheel draw.
Wow.
Tony folded a deuce. It was
I can't believe I forgot.
Deuce.
I forgot to put my bet on Juha.
I don't want the ace.
I can't believe I did that.
You can get the ace, and you don't have too many hands. Ace is fine, no king though. That's good.
Good game, guys.
Wow. Wow. Huge pot suddenly from nowhere. And Juha Helppi in fantastic place for locking up the 10 points and going into the definite first four.
Yeah, it's great news for Helppi. And for Tom Dwan right now, the 4 points, Vicky, is going to put him on 26.
Yeah, if Juha wins this, then Tom's going to have to sweat the last heat in terms of... you know, people like Roland or indeed myself not winning it, because we could go ahead of him.
As long as Vicky or Roland don't win, I think I'm in the top 4. And if Vicky or Roland wins, then I won't be. Because I'm tied with Tony G, but I win the tiebreak. And if Vicky gets second, I'd be tied with her, but I'd win the tiebreak also. So I just need one of them to not win.
Well, Vicky, heads up. And it's all to play for Tony G. Right now, for Juha Helppi, he's just playing, it looks like, for chips and money at the final table. Juha is guaranteed to be there either way. Tony G needs to get a win here to vault over Tom Dwan in the standings.
Well, you know what, Jesse, this is really key for me. I need Juha to win this. If Juha wins, I've still got a chance of making the top 4. If Tony wins, I don't.
It is not for me.
And I'm sure the other players out there in the green room are doing just the same kinds of calculations.
I think it was 10-20 though, but still, he called on like 191.
It's not easy to call. You need to be special.
Tony G's not under huge pressure, though, because he does know that he's going to have a playoff seat either way. But obviously, the victory here, boy, would be huge for him. And Juha's got to be feeling really good about the way things went tonight. He came in here with a plan to try and make the final table, and he has executed.
Now, Tony G's got a hell of a lot more to play for. Helppi is guaranteed top 4. You know, he just wants the money. Tony G is playing for a top 4 spot. He could still get one.
These are the kind of things...
I have you beat. Now I just need to be lucky.
Do you? You might not
well, if you're thinking, I have you beat.
Do you?
I don't know. I don't know if you have... I mean...
That actually means you have king, queen, king, jack, something like that.
No.
It does.
I don't have that.
You don't? King 10? Can you count, please?
Juha may have to make the call. I mean, this is where it's a factor that Juha's position is a lot more comfortable. Obviously, he's the chip leader, so won't get knocked out. But even if he does get knocked out, he's still fine for the top 4, so he can afford to make a call. You know, just like JC Tran will be able to in the last match, you know, he can afford to make these kind of marginal calls because it doesn't matter that much what happens.
Well, it's, at the end of the day, it's not a huge re-raise, Vicky. I mean, considering that if Tony G doubles up here, Juha still has 2-to-1 advantage. But Juha might be thinking the safe road is the best road. I don't know. This is going to be happening a lot. And doesn't it occur to Juha that if he doesn't call now, he's going to be faced with a very similar decision every time he sticks chips in the pot?
Well, Tony G is managing his stack well. You know, if Juha was getting 2-to-1, I think he would call pretty automatically. Tony knows that he's got to move while his stack is still a threat.
If it's an easy double after.
Ordinarily, I would say Juha has to make the pass, but given the chip positions and the points position, I think he can afford to gamble that Tony doesn't have much.
I didn't lie before, so.
Tony is trying to convince Juha he has an ace. He pretty much knows Juha has ace rag now. Juha's all but told him. I think Juha
can afford to make the call. If in the last match, which I'm in, if JC Tran's going to be throwing away ace-4 in this kind of position, when he's got the top 4 locked up, I'll be delighted. I think it's a very specific time when Juha could think, what the hell, he's let it go, he can't bear it. Look, Juha Helppi cannot bear not to play correct poker, even though he could think, what the hell, I'm in the top 4 anyway. He can't bear it.
What did you have?
Better than you.
Broadly speaking, it's bad to call with ace-4 in that spot, and he will not do it, regardless of the points.
1 over, 1 smaller, so.
I'm not sure what's going through Juha's head right now, Vicky. Most people would have. He must think that Tony's actually got a much tighter range than Tony has.
It's because he can't bear to play properly. I mean, that is to his credit. That's the reason why he's in the top 4, is because he plays a good, solid, brave, correct game. He just can't bear to throw it out of the window just at this moment when it doesn't really matter.
Is it possible that Juha didn't watch
really bad hand.
The Tony G versus Tom Dwan head up? Where, I mean,
I'm ashamed.
Tony did everything but leap the high hurdles when he had any 2 cards over a 7. I mean, I got the feeling that Tom Dwan may have called that with the ace-4 there.
Oh, I think so. Certainly if he was in Juha's points position, he would.
But Juha's not going to give any chips away easily. That seems to be what his idea is. He's had a look over at Tony's stack, Vicky, and he said, well, you know what? As long as he stays under 150, then I can get that free shot.
Cool.
Lose and still be even in chips. It must feel nice to be Juha Helppi right now. But then again, it must feel nice to be Tony G. He came in here with this exact plan. First, let's get to the playoffs and then try and swing for the final.
It feels nice to be Tony G now. Top pair in the flush draw.
10,000. Raise.
Such a big hand, he doesn't even want to stick them all in yet.
Aggressive now, huh?
37,000.
But why isn't Juha being aggressive? Why isn't he? You know, he started this heads up with a big chip lead. He can't knock himself out of that top 4. Why isn't he piling on the pressure?
Are you close to the point right now where you want to say to Juha, get up from your chair, I'll play your chips?
Yeah, because I need Juha to win to still have a chance at the top 4. You know, I want to see him getting aggressive. Doesn't matter. Tony G might still win it if he plays that way, but that doesn't matter to Juha. Doesn't matter to him. He's in that final. He could undo his belt and, you know, have fun.
The G has yet to lose a head up in this Premier League, Vicky. He was short stacked against Tom Dwan. He got to the head up and then he ran over Durrr.
Cool.
Of course, he won a race as well.
Now, obviously, we see that Tony G is limping with a strong hand, but
this is the same kind of friendly as when a viper smiles. I mean, is that?
Ooh, Juha's outflopped him.
10,000.
Obviously, he's somewhere between check raise and all in.
I think it could be the flat call, you see, because he wants to represent a straight draw, give Tony G the chance to bet again. I think it's okay. I think heads up, Helppi's hand is strong enough to just call. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. This is not good news for Tony.
Check.
If he believes Juha's representation
15,000
of the draw.
And I wonder if Juha is thinking, well, if he's on complete air, maybe I should just call and let him hang himself on the river.
I like the bet, by the way, from Tony G. Bet 15,000 into 40. You know, he thinks he'll get the information that he wants without shoving the lot in. The question is now he's got it, will he listen? He must switch off now, I think, Tony.
Check. Check.
Yeah.
I have a queen. How's that?
You know exactly how that is, Juha. You know exactly how that is.
I think Tony played the hand well, though, actually. You know, He maybe could have raised pre-flop, but he bet the flop believing quite reasonably that he could be best. He bet small on the turn to find something out, and when he found it out, he switched off. I think it was good play. Good play from G.
Tell you the really exciting thing. I mean, if Juha does go on to win here, Tony's going to be in 5th spot, and 5th spot in the playoffs will play 8th. Currently 8th, Phil Hellmuth. Could it be? Is there a chance that the playoff for that final seat at the final table will be the G Hellmuth?
You see, if that happens, it means I'll be playing Annette, which will give you, Jesse, in the commentary box, ample opportunity to say catfight and topless wrestling and whatever else you have planned if there's any girl-on-girl action.
We can but hope. We've all got to... We've all got to have our perfect...
I'll see what I can do.
Actually, if it is going to be Annette, Vicky, Tony G, Hellmuth, I mean, there is a huge excuse, isn't there, for taking out the poker table and just, I don't know, putting in a boxing ring.
12,000.
I reckon I'd be in good shape against Annette in a boxing match because she has really nicely done nails. And that's such a big disadvantage for a boxer.
You've got a huge reach advantage, too.
I had a pair.
It might not lay down. Sick.
Actually, I mean, I think Phil's probably got an unbelievable jab, you know? I mean, he's probably got a lot of mobility, but Tony's definitely got the big punch, doesn't he?
They put all of these 12 people, if you change the whole thing into boxing rather than poker, then Tony G would be such a short favourite. He'd be odds on.
Really?
Yeah, look at him. What a tough guy.
Over Roland?
Yeah, over Roland. I could beat Roland.
Call. No raise.
Still have to take the devilfish in the boxing ring.
Check.
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 Oh, and sneaky from the fin.
Really interesting sort of trap here because it feels like a dangerous board.
12.
12,000.
Yeah, I mean, Tony G's going to have a go with his middle pin straight draw. Well, this is exactly why, Juha can't work out whether to raise here to protect against the draws or whether this is the opportunity he was waiting for to get Tony G to keep betting with the worst of it.
Oh, he can work it out. He's worked it out.
Well, he's gambling. I mean, if the jack comes, he's going to feel a right idiot.
Yeah. But it's just...
That's a horrible card for you. That's a horrible card. Oh, well, Tony's checked it.
This is why Juha says, I don't want to be in a 60-40 spot with Tony. I want to play small pots. I want to get him bluffing. I want to whittle him down to a nub and then finish him off.
Pass.
Bury him.
Yeah.
It's clever, isn't it?
Yeah. And a happy Christmas to you, too.
He is the former champion, Juha Helppi, and he really came back to prove it.
Yeah, I think Juha was offended last time that he came back as champion. He missed out on the final. Roland de Wolf needled him something rotten, made him feel bad. I think he came back absolutely determined to show why he won it.
I think Tony's going to go all in here most of the time.
All in.
Yeah, it's kind of an average
Send the
hand.
businessman to donkey heaven, I call.
It looks like a weaker queen, actually, there for Juha.
Too easy. Well done.
Tony G shows. Oh, he called it. Did he call it?
He said, let's send the businessman to donkey heaven. That's what he said.
Oh, he had an ace queen?
Yes.
Oh, that's horrible for Tony.
Juha's been waiting to say that for 30 years, I'm guessing.
You can relax.
Wow.
I'm not stressed at all.
So unlucky, not just to get the call, but that the queen would be repeated in Juha's hand. See, Tony G is beating ace-king now.
Has to be a 7, and the situation here, if the 7 doesn't come...
Yeah, now it could have come like queen 6, but 7 required for Tony G.
Well, you still have him.
Vicky, Juha, Helppi will be going to the final table. Tony G definitely in the playoffs. But what a match. The Finn, the former champion, came through. Let's have a look at the league table. Well, Juha, Helppi, and Tom Dwan have come up trumps this evening. Juha, Helppi guaranteed for the final table, and Tom Dwan can sit back and think it's very likely he'll be there as well. In the playoff zone, Tony G and Obrestad have done enough to make it to the playoffs. But for Phil Hellmuth, he's going to have to now sit back and watch. His fate is out of his hands, whereas Vicky Coren can do it all next time. In the relegation zone, Andy Black didn't work out. He is now out. For the others, Roland DeWolf and Nenad Medic, things can fall perfect. They can at least come to the table and have some hope. And for the Devilfish, he's reduced to role of spoiler.
I'm pretty happy with my game so far. I haven't made any mistakes really. I play usually pretty mistake-free poker. I don't make a lot of big moves, but I do them occasionally, and this is how I play. This puts me in a good spot.
Next time, it's the final match of Season 3. We'll find out who has automatic qualification to the final table, who will be battling it out in the playoff zone, and who will be packing their bags.